Angelia, and I'm taking over for Jess for a couple weeks at Nerdcast. I'm
Year before Zod, Sunday.
Anyway, I'm actually a homeless person who they found on the street, and they were really nice. They said they'd give me these new clothes and feed me if I came on, and anyway, I'm just here, supposed to be introducing myself.
Yes, I know that.
Supposed to be introducing myself.
They should use Brainiac in the next movie, especially since lately they've been tying him to the destruction of Krypton a lot.
It's mostly just Lex Luthor in a power suit nowadays.
Luthor's overused as much as I like him.
Anyway, I'm Angelia. Welcome to Nerdcast.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. Roger. Ready to move out.
Okay.
Hi guys, welcome to Nerdcast. Tonight, E3 special.
We're going to be talking about the games, the tech, the console wars. We're bringing all the information straight to you.
And then at some point, I'll review The Purge, somewhere in the middle of that.
Doesn't really fit, but okay.
And that's really all that matters today. This is the E3 special of Nerdcast.
Enjoy. So let's not waste any more time and jump right in. First, let's take a look at the console war between the Xbox One and the PS4. Let the bloodshed begin. The PS4 starts out with a great lead in that it costs $100 less than the Xbox, an immediate selling point there. Both systems add a lot of new features in the world of console playing. Both consoles are jumping into the cloud, using cloud-based technology to enhance download speeds and transfer game files. Both consoles have enhanced graphics, but that's a given with any new console generation. If I had to say, I guess the Xbox games are slightly prettier. Both Microsoft and the PlayStation also announced that they're adding Facebook and other social apps to their consoles, which will allow players to share achievements and communicate in real time. Which leads us to our next feature. Both consoles allow for live streaming and video sharing of live gameplay. The Xbox goes a step further in this aspect by adding Upload Studio, which is an editing program for videos that you record live and then edit with nifty video things.
And now, interrupting all your video game news, here's a movie review. There are a few things I like as much as sci-fi. I've seen my share of Twilight Zone episodes, and I absolutely love 1984, so you can imagine how excited I was by the idea behind The Purge. The idea is that in order for America to save itself from poverty and crime, a group of politicians known as the New Founding Fathers created a holiday wherein crime is legal for one night, because sometimes you just need to haul off and murder someone. And that's sort of the limit of the writer's imagination. It seems like the only crime the writers are aware of is killing people, and it really limits what this movie could have done thematically. The concept is so good that I really didn't care about this single upper-class family that frankly isn't all that good at surviving in a horror movie. What about the things that aren't murder? What about the banks who have to prevent temporarily legal robberies? This new America presented in The Purge is so much more interesting. What with its seemingly ultra-conservative morality and religious-like patriotism used to justify atrocities, the choice to restrict everything to one scenario, when even the movie brushes over such things as class warfare, makes me wish this movie had tried to do something more. Without ruining anything, let me just say that The Purge is basically just about how terrible rich people are. The Purge is used as an excuse for rich people to kill poor people. And the rich people think that killing people is either a given right or a near-religious action, depending on whom you ask. After the main rich family accidentally protects a homeless guy from a group of overprivileged, easy-to-hate rich kids, the movie devolves into moralizing about what would a father do to save his family. And the more I talk about it, the more I wish I didn't have to talk about it. Of course parents in movies protect their kids from being murdered. Tell me about what the poor people are doing to fight back. Tell me how this new America came to be, about these founding fathers and this crazy new patriotism. Tell me why this movie sounds like a prequel to The Hunger Games. I feel like there should have been better ways to talk about the significance of killing other people. If the creators of this movie wanted to talk about murder and tell us that it was wrong, or that the rich were out to get us, I wish they could have done it without stumbling upon the greatest premise in recent memory and completely throwing away the opportunity. Thanks for that. Let's go back to talking about E3.
With the Xbox One Gold membership, you can play video games while others in your house can use other programs on your account, which seems to assume that you will be buying multiple $500 game consoles. Meanwhile, the PS Plus memberships are shared over the PS3 and the Vita at no extra charge. Members who have the PS4 will automatically get Drive Club as a free game and a new game every month. Most of these new indie games were demoed at E3 and they look amazing. As I'm sure you've all heard, the PS4 really shined when they announced that unlike the Xbox One, you can share, trade, and sell PlayStation games, and that the PlayStation games, not a single one will require online authentication or registration. When they announced this at the conference, fans literally cheered so loud you could almost hear, "Take that, Microsoft!" Now, despite the negative aspects, the Xbox One still has some cool exclusive features, like Smart Glass, which allows you to check the stats and timelines of other players and your own character while using your tablet or iPhone. Smart Match, which matches players in multiplayer games based on skill level. And the upgraded Kinect, which is vastly improved with better motion detection and voice control. Finally, Microsoft has converted its currency system from Microsoft Points to my actual cash, something that really needed to happen a long time ago. The PS4 has a ton of new apps as well that the whole family can enjoy, like Redbox, Live Events, and Flixster, which we'll just pretend is not a knockoff of Netflix. While people have their loyalties, the general consensus of fans everywhere is that the PS4 has blown the Xbox out of the water. The PS4 has more core features and apps that appeal to all players. And the lower price rate and better online services only strengthens the divide. But even without all of that, Microsoft got greedy. Screwing over your fans is never a good idea.
So, Nintendo decided that they didn't want any part of this year's E3 while the PlayStation and Xbox giants slugged it out. But Nintendo cleverly realized that they still had to be part of the biggest expo in the industry. So, they gave us 4 demos. 4 demos playable for 4 hours on Wednesday and Saturday at select Best Buys across America. But hey, demos, so that's nice. Now, if you like Nintendo, you know to expect familiar characters in the same franchises played absolutely to death, but with brand new gimmicks. So keep that in mind. Nothing new, just something mildly altered. First up, the game no one at the demo demonstration extravaganza wanted to play, Donkey Kong Country Returns Tropical Freezing. It's the same Donkey Kong Country you played on the Wii and the 3DS, only now there are more set pieces that you can jump around via completely safe exploding barrels. Also, they took out any puzzle that involves Donkey Kong stopping to blow on things, and they added snow and penguins. I give DKC Tropical Freezing a resounding disinterested shrug. Next, Wind Waker HD. That's the change, it's high def now. I'm not even sure why this one was at the demo demonstration because it doesn't play any differently. Everything is the same, except now it's smoother where there were once pixels. The round things are round. Money well spent, Nintendo.
Time for games. We've seen some impressive games demoed this year from all companies. What's really been interesting though, and just flat out great, is that this year much fewer exclusive games are being released, which means that in 2013 and 2014, no matter what console you have, there's going to be a game that you love. We've also seen an immense amount of innovation in game design, adding new mediums, utilizing new technologies, and an overall push to put the control more in the gamer's hands. Beyond Two Souls is a psychological action-adventure game that is really pushing to blend two mediums, both cinema and video games. This interactive film experience stars Ellen Page as Jodie Holmes. In this game, players embark on a 15-year journey as Jodie, the girl with unique powers who is being trained as a soldier for a dangerous mission. The game is not only visually stunning as a movie, but marketed as a movie more than a game, with heavy emphasis on director David Cage and a 30-minute trailer that was premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival. Even the gameplay has more cinematic parts to it, with most gameplay being slowed down to incorporate more film-inspired camera shots. With this unique combination of film and game, will it be a success? We'll have to wait and see later next year. Taking cloud technology to a new level, Forza Motorsport 5 has everybody talking. The next installment of the Microsoft driving game is eliminating the AI in racing games. Instead, your actions create a personal driving avatar with a copy of your driving habits and movements. This avatar is saved to the cloud and pitted against racers all over the world, so that you're always technically playing against another person. Nothing like this has ever been attempted before, and whether or not the technology will make for successful gameplay is yet to be seen and highly argued about. With no way to set difficulty level, and since players' strengths and weaknesses are permanently recorded to the avatar, there is the potential to isolate newbies. But for great racers, the possibilities are endless. If you said, to hell with those games, I can make a better one, well, now you can with Project Spark, a new game that's been released by Microsoft that allows the player to create their own game. Not only can you alter the aesthetics of the game, but you can literally make any kind of game. The beta footage shows players creating RPGs, platform, puzzle, and combat games. There truly seems to be no limit but your imagination. New game Quantum Break and the old classic Halo are taking the lead from Defiance and coming out with their own TV shows. In an attempt to create an emergence, everything that you watch on the TV shows will apply and influence your gameplay, and major accomplishments and events in the MMO will appear and affect the show. I personally hope that Halo takes the easy way out and makes Red vs. Blue its own full-blown TV series.
Jump cut back to E3 demos, and that brings us to Mario. Super Mario 3D World is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It feels like an expansion pack to the Super Mario game on the 3DS, only now it's on the Wii U. This adds a few new levels and catsuits. Actually, there's a fair amount of upgrades to this title, if I have to be perfectly honest. The multiplayer from the side-scrolling Mario game on the Wii U is back, and it's actually pretty much improved, because with the new 3D maps, there's less chance of players jumping on each other's heads and sending them into death pits. There's also collectibles, which might be something I never got to see, but I can report that they're mostly green stars. I don't know what they do yet. Still, the most interesting level was one in which all 4 players rode around on the smiling spawn of Barney the dinosaur and a walrus. Your first question might be, who drives this strange horror if all 4 players are on its back? Why all of them, sneers Nintendo with a dead heart. All of the controllers steer the sea monster, and it pretty much makes the level impossible whenever it calls for precision. Still, this is a straight-up, no spin-offs Mario game, and if you like that, you'll like this. Finally, the one demo that really stood out this year was Mario Kart 8. Go ahead and squeal with excitement. This year's gimmick is hover cars that allow you to drive on the walls and on the ceilings of maps. And remarkably, it's not that debilitating or distracting. Suddenly corkscrewing onto the wall never leaves the player without a way forward, and it gives the game a roller coaster feel. That's honestly pretty novel for the first or second attempt. After that, it's all the same Mario Kart, with no real changes to gameplay. Being upside down or on a wall doesn't change the controls or affect gameplay at all. I saw players jump into this game, find every shortcut, and win every race with very little challenge first attempt. A little new functionality is introduced via the Sega Game Gear-like Wii U controller, in that you can see your items and positions of your opponents, but it's difficult to glance down at your hands mid-race. And more importantly, it isn't really an advantage. Bottom line is, it's a Mario Kart game with new courses, and it's shiny like a hypnotist's watch.
Even though it's only been a few days since since E3, fans are buzzing and fighting about which games are their favorite. These are the top 7 games that people are talking about. Number 7, Dead Rising. Like its prequels, it's about killing zombies, but oh, the new fun ways of how you can kill them. The open world game covers the entire city, and everything can still be a weapon. Players can also combine weapons, and my personal favorite combination is the buzzsaw hammer. Finally, the zombies are more sensitive to every move you make, creating a higher difficulty. It is the most dynamic zombie game yet. Number 6, The Witcher 3. With much improved writing, scenery, and gameplay over its predecessors, The Witcher 3 is now one of the most highly anticipated RPGs this year. Fans are most excited about the smooth, real-time swordplay and being able to do quick weapon changes and cast spells audibly through the Kinect. Expect deep emergence. Number 5, Battlefield 4. One of the most popular first-person shooter games out there is back, with new multiplayer games bringing back the much-loved Commander mode from Battlefield 2, and now the possibility to destroy a skyscraper. Old fans and new fans alike are already calling Battlefield 4 the best of the franchise. Number 4, Super Smash Bros. Wii. This is a kick-ass revamp that includes new challenges, Animal Crossing Guide, Wii Fit Lady, and Mega Man. Number 3, Titanfall. Titanfall allows players to switch between supporting soldiers and the pilots of mechs in real time with real consequences in combat. Visually stunning, fast-paced game, Titanfall has become an instant favorite with fans. Number 2, Tom Clancy's Division. Division is a massive MMO that is a tactical shooter, action-adventure, and RPG all rolled into one. You and other online players are part of an elite government team whose mission is to contain and eliminate a massive disease epidemic that has just hit New York. The mission you embark on is actually based on the same plan put forth by the Bush administration in the event of an actual epidemic. Fans love the intriguing realism of the storyline and the expansive world they get to explore. And number 1, Destiny. The new game from the creators of Halo is hitting it big. Destiny is an MMO set in a mysterious, dark future where you get to explore what's left of space. The world is just huge. There seems to be nowhere you can't go, including Mars and Venus. There also seems to be nothing you can't do. Players are loving how much freedom they have in this game, like being able to leave a storyline quest to play in a public event. Outside of that, the visuals are still amazing and it's simply fun. Do not miss out and get your copy of Destiny when it comes out in 2014.
Welcome to Comic Crash. I'm Jeremy Lawton, and even though we've got a new host, I'm still the only one who's single. I'll pull myself together to get through this. Still no news if DC is going to respond to the massive fan desire for a continuation of Young Justice, but Teen Titans Go has been renewed for a second season. I am just as baffled as you are, honestly. And another baffling news story, Marvel's called dibs on May 6, 2016 and May 5th, 2017 as release dates for as of yet to be announced films. Good to know. Marvel released their September solicits, confirming the cancellation of Morbius, the Living Vampire, after issue number 9. Superior Spider-Man Team-Up and Nova join the Infinity crossover tie-ins, along with 2 newly announced 4-issue miniseries, Infinity the Hunt and Infinity Heist. The Mighty Avengers is confirmed to be a new ongoing series springing up in the midst of Infinity with writer Al Ewing and artist Greg Land. September will also see the first half of a 10-part X-Men-wide crossover, The Battle of the Atom. And I have no idea why it's called that, because the story is about the X-Men from the future coming back in time to the present to send the X-Men from the past, who are currently in the present, because the X-Men from the present brought them there to stop Cyclops from being such a tool, and the future X-Men need to send the past X-Men back to the past because it's bad for some reason. I don't know, I'm already confused and I just read it. Now on to reviews. For Katana number 5, I would like to say that, like her Green Arrow run, Nocenti has good ideas with really bad execution. I would like to say that, but this issue was so convoluted and all over the place I could hardly tell. She's reached that event horizon where her pacing is so bad that I can't even tell if her ideas are good because they're all just lost in the chaos. That, and she introduced a villain named Swagger. And Swagger has these sheaths that make absolutely no sense unless they defy reality. She has these straight swords that go in sheaths that curl around her body like snakes. Alex Sanchez has cool art though, so, 1.5 is better than most issues of Catwoman. Now, everybody raise your hand if you read the Alpha story and actually liked the character as a person. Nobody, right? So why did Marvel give him a miniseries? Because they gave it to character-driven genius Joshua Hale Fialko. He did the precarious task of turning Alpha from a completely obnoxious jerk into someone remotely likable, not fully heroic, which I'm really impressed that he didn't go all the way. He did it realistically. Through these 5 issues, Alpha has become a definitive example of the teen hero, conflicted, confused, and imperfect. The artwork is really odd and definitely hard to get used to, but if there's a continuation, Alpha will be a teen hero story for the ages. The final issue gets a 4.5 out of 5, but only because it just kind of ends in a way that I feel would be the good beginning to a series, but we don't know what's happening. Brian Posehn and Gary Dugan found the perfect balance for Deadpool back in issue number 8, and by issue number 11, it's managed to get even perfecter. This arc has been chock full of perfectly deconstructed gimmicks, humor of the most hilarious quality, some genius serious character work, and a totally different kind of voice in Deadpool's head, and tons of excellent meta jokes. He makes obvious nods to Batman at the confusion of the rest of the cast, a subtle nod to Rorschach, and many others. And they even managed to stick in a positive message for transgendered peoples. 5 out of 5. American Vampire is an interesting series. It's not iVampire, which I love. It's actually very unlike any vampire story that's out there. At times, it's almost like a class on American history told through vampires. The classic Dracula-style vampires are the European breed, while the American vampires are something altogether new. And there's a few other types in there as well. But the core of the series is the variety of characters, with plot lines whirling and colliding across time periods. This one-shot, The Long Road to Hell, is both a great full arc in one volume and an excellent representation of the entire series. It's a very hard series to judge on a single issue because of the way the arcs are constructed, but this is cheaper than a full collection. So if you haven't been reading American Vampire but you think you might be interested, pick this up. It's populated almost entirely by new characters, so you won't get lost, and old readers have a heart-wrenching tale with a significant familiar face to enjoy to break up the gap while it's on hiatus. 5 out of 5, no hesitation. After Wonder Woman, it's been Thor, who grew from character I cared little about to one of my absolute favorite series. Interestingly enough, both are tied heavily to a mythological pantheon. The Gore saga is incredible. Every issue has been perfect, and this is no exception. All Thors from across time are finally gathered in one place to have one of the most epic battles that there ever was, including Gore being knocked light years away in an instant and retaliating by throwing chunks of moon back. Thor God of Thunder number 9 gets the 8th perfect score for this series. Just when I thought the most directionless, and I mean that in the most positive way, series ever couldn't get any more unpredictable, Hickman throws another curveball through the 5th dimension upside down, sideways, through itself. Tesseract. I don't know. What a way to end the first year. Coming right on the heels of such a moving story last issue, this one is positively heartbreaking. Fermi's always been more of an enigma than the others, except for maybe Feynman, but I never expected something like this, especially after his last issue. Oh man. Proving once again that Image Comics is the best publisher, Manhattan Project number 12 gets a perfect score, like always, just like Chew and Morning Glories, and pretty much everything I said about them goes for this. The much-hyped release of Scott Snyder and Jim Lee's Superman Unchained number 1 was a bit different than I expected. It wasn't quite like All-Star Superman, a game changer that will make you love Superman. And honestly, like Snyder's Batman number 1, it was good, but mostly a lot of setup with nods to some kind of secret history. And it was awesome, thanks in part to Jim Lee's artwork and Dustin Nguyen's in the co-feature. But it was very traditional Superman thus far. The plot itself had some intriguing wrinkles. Lois and Luthor were amazingly well written, but I don't know if it will change Superman haters' minds yet. It might, so go get it. Or maybe wait for the trade this time because the first issue isn't quite worth the extra $2. The second extra dollar goes towards the removable poster, which is an odd poster by itself, and it's also part of the story, so it creates a kind of awkwardness to the flow. But that's really the only problem. Otherwise, I'm still going 4.5 out of 5 on this. Not as mind-blowing as I expected, but still excellent with lots of promise. In Batman number 21, Zero Year is off to an amazing start. It doesn't feel like the most epic thing ever, but it has such an intense sense of atmosphere to it. Capullo really understands how to work perfectly with Snyder. You can feel so easily how different the city is compared to his present-day stuff. Things are much brighter, and the story is more complex than initially believed, exploring the past in different layers, all looped around the same plot. The code feature was sort of disconnected, but nonetheless entertaining and still set in the past. Perfect score. I mean, Scott Snyder on Batman is pretty much the best thing ever. And now we go back to other stuff that I don't know about with Nerd Gear, with those other two people that are here, and one of them's different than last time. Angela and Mitch, Nerd Gear, Nerdcast.
Instead of our normal Nerd Gear bit, we're going to do a really quick, detailed rundown of the games that caught our attention at E3. First up, from Nintendo, even though they weren't at E3, they still had some announcements to make online. Super Smash Bros. Is coming out for the 3DS and the Wii U. And both Mega Man, Female Trainer from Wii Fit, they've all been added to the roster, and that's some pretty good stuff. Nintendo is expanding the Street Pass system for the 3DS in America and Europe. The basic idea is that you take your 3DS to sleep mode to a Starbucks, where your Street Pass info is relayed to a server, and it'll be shared with other people who do the same. They're hoping it will increase the popularity of the feature. The next Zelda handheld game has a name, and it's Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. It is slated to hit stores in North America November of this year. Nintendo is even considering DLC. Super Mario World 3D will actually be on the Wii U in HD graphics. They can be up to 4 players, each character has their own special abilities. Toad could run faster, Peach can float, Luigi jumps higher, and Mario is just a well-rounded character. Oh, and did I mention there's a cat suit that lets you climb up walls. You can also climb up those flagpoles and get the extra lives you've been missing. In our first show, we were wondering what kind of element the new legendary Pokemon would be affinityed to. Well, we know that for Pokemon X and Y, they have officially added Fairy-type Pokemon. This is strong against Dragon types, so you can now use your new Evolution or Jigglypuff to beat up Dragonite. PS4 will be shipped with a headset. Yes, and the hard drive will also be removable and upgradable, though it already comes with 500 gigabytes. Final Fantasy Versus 13 is now Final Fantasy 15. Called it. While Square Enix had this game announced during Sony's press event, it will be coming to both the PS4 and the Xbox One. Oh, and it'll have multiple direct sequels, quote unquote, so be prepared for Final Fantasy 15-4 eventually. You know it's coming. They hate us secretly. Kingdom Hearts 3 was also announced, so that saves Square Enix there. But again, coming to the Xbox One. Square, I hate you. Never mind, I hate you. Mad Max has been claimed as a PS4 exclusive, as well as Infamous Second Son, which includes fire abilities instead of lightning now. Gakkai will be used for streaming games. That's all we know about Gakkai. Sony loves the indie developers and is allowing them to self-publish, and even had a mini indie game showcase during their press conference, with some impressive things shown off. Walking Dead and Vita combined to form another attempt at selling their handheld. They also announced God of War 1 and 2 HD Remake for the Vita. Insomniac has officially jumped ship from PlayStation to Xbox One with Sunset Overdrive. Also, World of Tanks MMO joins the Xbox One family. And in closing, a quote from IGN about this year's E3. Early data for console pre-orders from major online retailers in the United States show consumers pre-ordered approximately 3 PS4 units for every 2 Xbox One consoles during the period between Monday, June 10th to Wednesday, June 12th. While this is not an indication of future purchase intent, it does seem to suggest that Sony resonated louder with consumers during E3 2013 than Microsoft. So, good job Microsoft at selling PS4s for Sony. But honestly, I think if we're tight on money, there are so many games coming out for the PS3 and the 360, you can wait till Christmas of 2014.
Hello, folks. I am Bill Allen from Trekosophy.com, here to bring you another Fast Philosophy Minute. E3 is all about video games, so I thought we would take a minute to look at what it is about video games that really can change the way we look at the world around us. Video games started out very simply back in the 1970s with Atari and their little dream of Pong, and since then they've grown into something complex. It's as involved as any form of storytelling today, but it's more immersive because it actually puts the person in the story. This helps to add a layer of connection between the person playing the game and whatever medium they're experiencing, which can, if a game has a decent message, draw that person in and really make that message sink home. And a lot of games these days do try to do this with themes dealing with environmental responsibility, social responsibility, whatever the hot button issues are of the day, plus zombie killing. Can't have enough of that. On a deeper level, video games are a way for us to tackle some of those really heavy philosophical questions about the nature of God. All video games boil down to being basically a bunch of computer code, a string of ones and zeros written out in a long line that the computer reads and translates into images. It then puts these images up on a screen that we see, and then whether it's by joystick or keyboard or by the little body motion sensor thing they have going on these days, it takes what we do and alters everything we see and changes that code. So a video game is a one-dimensional universe, shown in a two-dimensional format, and acted upon by a three-dimensional being. In a way, this makes us the gods in the video games. We don't die, we save and reload. We have abilities far beyond anybody else. We exist outside that time and that space. If we get stuck or lost, we can go on the internet. There's no internet inside that little game. You're just stuck with four walls and a gun and a bunch of zombies coming at you, but we have the internet to help us, which gives us the equivalence of omniscience. We can do things impossible for anyone else to do. And that video game itself, that entire world that we see there, was crafted by somebody, not from the inside, but from outside. So when people ask about what is God, God is a computer programmer. And this is the universe he created. We've got a whole bunch of gods running around, and then we've got the little gods, the demigods, the rest of the pantheon, which is all the people who play these games, look at these games, evaluate these games, change those worlds, and have those worlds change them on the inside. There's a big theory going around in circles now that has to do with the virtual universe, that says that our existence, as we see it right now, is actually a computer simulation in some scientist's lab in some other universe. And the reason why the laws of physics behave the way they behave is because this computer simulation has placed certain limits on what reality can be within that simulation. This is kind of a very, very old theory when you look at ancient mystics, going all the way back to Plato's cave. And it's been rehashed and retreaded in all sorts of science fiction films, starting with Tron and going up through more recent classics like The Matrix. But it's also something that people look at from a serious aspect as the possibility of what our universe may actually be. So the next time you pick up that video game, don't think of it as just some childish distraction. It's something you enjoy, but it's also your power to change the world and to figure out how you should and when you should and if you should. Back to you, Mitch.
Next week on Nerdcast, I'm going to review Man of Steel.
And I'm also going to review Man of Steel.
We are going to review Man of Steel.
I'm on a horse.
Yeah!
Also, Age of Ultron finally ends, and that big ending that only the writer and the editor-in-chief who's stepping in to draw the finale knows will finally happen. We'll see if it's as awesome and controversial as they say.
And I'll be reviewing The Last of Us, probably the last great game to end this console generation. Everyone, this has been Nerdcast.
Hi, I'm Angelia Di Giuseppe, and I'm taking over for Jess while she's gone. I'm so happy to be here on Nerdcast. I was just a humble homeless girl, and they came here, brought me all these nice clothes, and gave me food. I am so happy to be your host, and I can't wait to bring you all the latest nerd news, whether it's superheroes or video games, internet memes, bravest warriors. I'll be here for all of it. Thank you guys so much.
Medic!
Don't touch me.